just getting people dancing, and now I brought the mood down completely. But I thought I'd use this excuse, because you only get it once in your lifetime, to just kind of go on at you for a while. So it is traditional on these occasions, I think, to talk about how you feel about being 50 and all the rest of it. So I thought I'd do that, because I was born exactly 50 years ago today, and 4 hours, just down the road at number 19 Brackenage, if you want to walk past it. Born at home, well done, Mum. Wherever you are. Hey, big up to And that, you see, I might have said this to some of you, but every decade I've lived has been better than the last, and it's made me think, maybe there's a time, you know, you get to 84 and just think, oh, the 70s were so much better. So I'm just wondering when that happens, when you kind of feel that you're going down the other side. And when I was thinking about that, I thought about worst Christmas do we had, you know, 6-7 months ago at Christmas. We were talking about what age would you be if you had to hold an age in time and just be that forever, what would it be? And some people, as you might expect, said 18 or 19, and I thought about this and thought, well, my kids are 17 and 19, and I had this image in my head of what if I was that forever. And I didn't actually think of my son Reese. I thought of his mate James, actually, at this point. And I just thought, if I was James for the rest of my life, it'd be like a PG-rated Grandad Day, where you'd be doomed every night to do the Otley run, drink too many Jaeger bombs and throw up your half-eaten pizza night after night. So I don't think I kind of just, you know, said maybe not 19, but who knows, you might have been right about that. Because I think, actually, as I got older, I got to kind of late 20s, early 30s, and I think that's when my head stopped, because I thought, I don't want to get any more mature, that's quite enough for me. But what's that, somebody of you might know, what's that programme where it says how old is your body when you can, you say that's what it's called, when they test your heart rate? No, not that, because that's when you take your weird teeth out and stuff like that. Not genetic. Well played, Simon, but no. But anyway, there's one where they test all kind of bits of you to see how old you are and how old your different organs are.
Time team. I'm sorry.
There's children here, but I will tell you the answer to that later. But anyway, I thought to myself, well, you know, to be honest, love, you're not doing so bad. Your muscles, your heart, your lungs could be that of somebody in the late 30s, you know, not doing so bad. Teeth, mid-40s maybe. Eyes and my hearing going off a bit, probably late 50s. Liver, just got a telegram from the Queen. And on that basis, my brain's going to get one any day now, really. So good luck, Reese, because what you'll end up living with is some kind of senile drunk who can still do a good time for the 10k run. But anyway, moving on. But when I thought about being 50, I do describe myself as being quite contented. And when I said that word contented, when I was writing this, I thought, some of my friends are going to think that's a really weird word to use, because that's a definition of contentment they haven't previously come across, because I actually probably come across to them as some kind of Chardonnay-fueled workaholic who falls asleep over a laptop and endless reruns of Family Guy every night. So is that really contentment? And to be honest, even on the nights I do get to bed, I quite often wake up at 3 in the morning with the bedroom light still on, asleep on a book of Sudoku puzzles with a pencil buried in my face. You know, so to be fair, I probably owe James an apology, because that's kind of my version of Groundhog Day. But I thought I would share with you a bit about where I think my contentment comes from. But those of you who know Peg, lovely Peg here, whoop for Peg, please. We were here just over 3 years ago for Peg's 40th, where Peg did the longest speech on record, so I won't keep you that long, I promise. Where she talked about some of her, you know, kind of friends and people she worked with and so on. So I thought, well, you know, I won't go on as long as that, but there's one line from that speech I do want to share with you, because, you know, she was standing just here and she said thank you to all kinds of people, and she turned to people in the corner here and said, thanks ever so much for coming, for her colleagues from Wakefield, who she'd worked with for a few years. It's brilliantly here, but I can honestly say I detested every moment of working there. And I just thought, I really can't compete with that. It's a great line. Because I've only actually had 2 jobs I've hated. One is teaching, and sadly it took me 8 years to realise I hated it. But the second job, bringing my sister Helen here, is working at Farmhouse Biscuits. Do we remember Farmhouse Biscuits? In the baking hot summer of 1976, first proper job we had. I don't know if any of you ever tried Farmhouse Biscuits. You went to one of those cute village stores, and there they are. No? You're the lucky ones. Because it sounds like the kind of thing that you'd get, you know, you'd have this kind of rosy-faced wench, wouldn't you, who's kind of cooking biscuits lovingly whilst kind of stroking a lamb and milking a cow and that kind of thing. But in practice, it wasn't like that at all. In fact, the farmer's wife turned out to be a completely sour-faced Tory bitch on wheels.
Yay!
Lauded around the village. Thank you, Russell, that was for you. in a pink Jaguar, not on a pink Jaguar because that'd been cool, no, in a pink Jaguar. And it really was the worst job in the world, because what we used to do is, our job was to kind of get these massive baking trays and whack them on the side of the conveyor belt for the biscuits to fall off. Curiously known as knocking off, that's another joke for you, Russell. And further down the conveyor belt, there were these weird sugar-crazed housewives who go, come on, pack more quickly, girls, one more box and we'll get our bonus. And that's literally how it was like, wasn't it? Completely mad. And I just thought, if ever you wonder why you do exams, the idea of a lifetime of doing that job is surely a salutary lesson. So anyway, moving on from that. However, moving on to what I do now, I work 13 years at Metro, so I'd like a big whoop for the Metro colleagues in the room. Absolutely brilliant people. Really love working at Metro, absolutely lovely people, really committed to what they do, really fun to be with. However, if you're not from Metro, I forbid you to ask them why buses are always late and bus drivers are always grumpy, because the bar closes at 12:30, so you haven't got enough time for the answer to that. I realise though in my 20s I had another reason to feel lucky, and sort of moving slightly serious. I've got this brilliant family, and thanks to my dad, who sadly isn't with us anymore, we're kind of dead down to earth, fiercely independent people. We're not very lovey-dovey, to be honest. We don't do gushy stuff, but we're kind of there for each other. And I was thinking how to describe this, and I thought, if I was on the phone to any of them and I said I love you at the end of the phone call, like some people do, I think they'd probably think I had a terminal illness and I'd chosen a really weird way to say goodbye. So we don't kind of do that stuff. But we are always there for each other, and I think we've proved that over the years. And I suppose it makes me think that it's brilliant to have that kind of safety net of a family. So whatever you choose to do in your life, that safety net is always there. So I'm just going to be a slightly bit gushy about my children here, because I really hope that my kids, Reese and Matty, don't worry, you won't get too gushy, Reese, I won't say you what, mate. Well, I will actually, but not like that. But I really hope that my kids feel that they can go off and do whatever they want in the world, knowing that if they screw up, it's all right, we'll be there for them. But just to say a bit about my kids. Reese has got this thing. Here is Reese. The one who's looking really annoyed. Reese managed to do this mixture of being dead laid back, but also really focused on what he wants to do. By which I mean, he eats everything in my house, leaves the house a mess, but he's never late for a night out. And that's really the combination you're looking for, isn't it? And he's completely successful his first year at uni, which basically means I've got 2 more years to figure out how to not have him move back, eat all my food, and laden me with his 25 grand debt. So I'm just looking for answers to that. But whatever he does, Reese will be successful, and I'm really proud of him, so I just want to say that. My second son, Matty, isn't here. I don't know, those of you who... some of you met Matty, but those if you haven't, Matty's been more of a challenge, because Matty's autistic, and that was quite tricky when he was younger. But to be fair to Matty, actually, I was going to share this story with you about him, because he always had a sense of timing. I think when he was, possibly, and Paul correct me, but when he was 5 or 6 years old, he had to be assessed for disability living allowance to give us some support for that. And Matty chose that moment to smack the doctor and run off down the street. And that action alone moved us from lower rate to medium rate DLA. So another child might have behaved, but to be fair, Matty knew when it's important to take action, and that was really saved us a lot of money over the years, so big up with him. But bringing up to date, Matty did really well in secondary school, and has recently, last year, left with a bunch of GCSEs, which is amazing. And he's just finished his first year doing art and design at Tom Stanby College. But the other thing he's done over the last year is taken up gymnastics, and he's doing really well at it. So I'm going to kind of prevail upon your good nature, really. So what this weird thing in the corner here is over the last year, there's a family over in Bramley called Chris, Rob and Amy, who run a gymnastics class for all kinds of groups of kids, from tiny, tiny little ones up to adults. But a year ago, they set up a gymnastics class for kids with autism and Asperger's syndrome, which has gone brilliantly well. And you've seen those few children move on to be sort of really much better coordinated, able to think about what they're doing, able to work as part of a team, able to support each other, and it's been really amazing. But those people have really struggled to keep that class going. So I thought, what better excuse, because I did say, no cards and presents, although some of you ignored that and brought me lots of wine, but thank you for that. So I thought, I will exploit your good natures by asking you to just throw a couple of quid in this pig here to keep that class going for another year. And the other thing I'm going to do, I'm going on a little political spiel now, is people like Chris and Rob and Amy make me the socialist I am. I've always been a socialist, and the reason is because I think people like that are brilliant, because they do stuff for other people for no other reason than it's the right thing to do. It's not financial gain, it's just because they believe in it. So the gym is actually losing money running that class, but it's absolutely fabulous. Parents make a contribution, they look for what funding they can, but they're really struggling. So I would say, if you've got a couple of quid spare, please help that, really. But the other thing it makes me think is, when you look at people like Cameron and Clay, and to be fair, maybe Blair and others before them, being balanced, all right, Russell, all right, just so, you know.
Communist.
They could support people like that, couldn't they? They could support creativity and aspiration, commitment and so on, but they tend to not, and that is why everybody, we should despise and loathe them and demand the kind of government we deserve. So, you know, really, let us, you know, I think people here are really committed to real people, real communities, so let's keep doing that. Okay, where am I up to? Right, whilst I'm talking about kids, I'd just like to take this opportunity to say a big thank you to Reese and Matty's dad, Paul, to their stepmum, Bev, and to their 3 lots of grandparents, so can we have a whoop for them? I think Paul getting remarried was brilliant because it actually gave us an extra bit of the family, and I think that's important to remember. Your family doesn't have to stop just there. You can make it as big as you like, and you can have as many friends as you like. There's no limit on that, so just as many people as you want. I think it's absolutely brilliant. And if you get a moment, I've posted a poem down here by Khalil Gibran which says what I really think about kids and families, so if you get a chance, have a look at that. Right, where am I getting to? Final straight, I promise you. Okay, I've been lucky enough in my life to get involved in all kinds of things. Football Sports Federation I was really active in for a few years, and that was brilliant. I was really lucky to support Leeds United when they used to be good, for those who can remember that.
We're coming back.
Yeah, well, yeah, just get rid of the pen, but anyway. I had lots of fun with Yorkshire Walking Club, trips abroad with work, European Brace projects, Marilyn, we had a great time there. Where's Marilyn's gone to the toilet, never mind. And great times just generally in Leeds, dancing, going to films and so on. And much more recently, last kind of 6 or 8 months, doing some blogging and getting involved in stand-up comedy, which is why I'm berating you all here now, because it's just practice, you know, you've got to take any gig you can get, haven't you? But I know that actually my football friends think, why don't you go to the match more often? My walking friends think, we haven't seen you much more often, and comedy friends think, where are you? And the trouble is, I'm trying to force 2 or 3 lives into one, but actually I'm rarely bored, so I'm really enjoying my life, and I think the answer is, you know, try to do as much as you want. But the common feature of all those things is people here tonight. You know, I've just got such brilliant friends, and I suppose there's one other thing I want to say. One of the interesting things about being 50 now, which is possibly not true of other age groups, is that I've been able to use social media to catch up with extra friends. So through Facebook recently, I've recently found my best mate from school. I've recently caught up with my first boyfriend, which is quite interesting, to be honest. He's now working in Chile, so that's, you know, that's kind of makes things kind of tricky. So I chat to him at 1 in the morning here, 8 in the evening there. I think we might have that somewhere weird. But the other thing is Twitter, and there are people in this room, big up Phil, hello Phil, who doesn't like to be pointed out, so I'm going to do it just to wind him up. But I wouldn't have met Phil without Twitter, because it's an opportunity to make new friends out there who, by pure coincidence, you wouldn't have bumped into otherwise. So I think I'm very lucky that way, that there's lots of friends out there waiting to be found, so make the most of it. However, I'm going to mention 5 special people. In the order I met them, so there's no competition here, but they are Carol, Peg, Tony, Kevin and Russell, who, whilst you're all brilliant people, I think I would be lucky to have any one of them as a friend, and they're absolutely brilliant people, every one of them, the kind of people you could talk to all day and still have stuff to say to an evening. As an example of which, Peg and I once went to Inverness by train and bus, journey of 10 hours, and we didn't stop talking once. And in fact, we spent all the time up the A9 trying to find a football club, beginning with every letter of the alphabet.
Scottish football club.
Well,
it started off as a Scottish
it's not a Scottish one yet, but we failed, so then we moved to any football club. And I think Peg eventually won by claiming Juve for both J and U.
Excellent.
Well done, Peg. Anyway, I've talked enough. I've got 3 gifts, one of which is for DJ, who's cleared off at this point, so that's a little bit disappointing. But I do have 2 rather weird esoteric gifts for Peg and Russell, because without them, I just wouldn't have got my act together for this, to be honest. I would have sat in my kitchen thinking, why does nobody like me? So they actually got me to get my act together to actually have a party once and for all, so perhaps they could come up and collect their really weird gifts.